Welcome back to another episode of Dark Dramas from Reddit. Today's story is from AITAH subreddit. My husband and I had an intimate wedding planned, but my cruel aunt's presence caused tension. The day before, she made a vicious remark about my childhood deformity, but my husband stood up for me, kicking her out and silencing the room. While I initially felt uneasy, I realized he had freed me from years of her abuse. Now, we're heading off to Paris for our honeymoon, leaving her behind for good. Using a throwaway account because my family knows my main one. Just to start off with, we belong to a South Asian family. My husband, 26M, and I, 25F, got married last month. We met in college and hit it off. He is from a well-to-do family, and though our cultures are slightly different, my parents had agreed for our marriage, not wanting our wedding to be like any other big fat Indian wedding, where people who don't give two shits about you are also invited. We invited only close family and friends. Now, some of the people we had to invite was out of obligation, including my aunt. She didn't grow up in a financially stable family and married my father's elder brother because she was very pretty, and my uncle was her lottery. She never spoke to him politely and ridiculed him every chance she got. My uncle couldn't even speak up against the domestic abuse he faced from her. She would slap him in public gatherings, and whenever he refused to give her all his money. When I was young, I had a hip deformity that caused me to walk rather weird. And at the time when I was 12, I was dancing on the stage during my cousin's wedding. I was not insecure of my deformity back then. She had made a snide remark on the mic that black devils give birth to children with inherited monstrosity, while pointing at me, and covered it up with a laugh. My mother is on the darker side, and she is highly educated, and had a pelvic deformity. Though it had nothing to do with me, my deformity was not genetic. My aunt never liked my mother. I still remember the tears in mother's eyes when I was left behind to walk while my cousins were given the car because my aunt had told me that the groom's family did not want to see me. This had broken my mother's heart. My dad, trying to remain cordial with his brothers, never said anything. This made me extremely insecure of my deformity during my teenage years, and I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. At 17, after some surgeries and procedures, I was completely healthy again, got into one of the best colleges of the country, while my aunt's children failed their high school exams and are still unemployed. My husband and I are now settled in the United States with high-paying jobs. Out of courtesy, we had to invite my aunt too. The problem arose the day before our wedding, when my husband had sat with my side of the family to chat. My aunt had again made a snide remark about how lucky I was and how charitable my husband's heart is to marry a diseased woman. The whole room fell silent. My mother tried to hide her tears, while my husband was deathly calm. He coldly told her to enjoy her stay at the hotel room, and if she dared come out, she would be escorted out by security. My aunt was dumbfounded. He then proceeded to add that it would be a once-in-a-lifetime experience for her broke self anyway. He then left while my aunt and cousins accused me of being arrogant and stuck up. My aunt, uncle, and her children left, while the rest of my uncles and aunts stayed, though with a ton of gossip. My wedding was a bit tense because of this, and I feel like my husband should have let it slide. While my husband disagreed and said he wouldn't have sat and allowed anyone to disrespect me. So, am I being unreasonable? AITAH. TLDR. Husband kicked out aunt from wedding when she made a snide remark about my childhood deformity. Edit. A few points that explains the story better. I did not get mad at my husband. I did not pick up a fight with him. My cousins had posted a story on Instagram about arrogant people forgetting to respect their elders, and at that I had casually mentioned to my husband that maybe he should have let it slide. And he had said he wouldn't have sat and allowed anyone to disrespect me. I left it at that. We did not fight. My father was my grandfather's favorite son, since he actually made something of himself. When my grandfather died suddenly without a will, and my grandmother fell paralyzed, my father's brothers immediately set out to inherit my grandfather's millions without leaving a dime for my father. My aunt took away all my grandmother's jewelries, who was paralyzed on bed. They lived a life of extreme luxury for a few years, buying cars upon cars, Lamborghini, Porsche, Maserati, you name it, island vacations every month, new gadgets and useless stuff, and so much more until my cousins lost all the money in gambling, and now they are in huge debt while my father is the one helping them having a roof over their head. It is one of the toxic things about our culture, to always respect elders, no matter what. Edit 2. Thank you all. I always knew it was not right for my aunt to treat me that way, but I had felt guilty and like a spoiled child for standing up for myself. For now, I have cut that woman out of my life, especially since I got to know that she back-bitched about my husband too. I apologized to my husband and thanked him for standing up for me. He told me it was okay, and that's what he promised me in front of God anyway, and just hugged me. The great news is that we're flying off to Paris this week for our honeymoon. AITAH for being upset with my husband for kicking out my aunt from our wedding. Let's move on to some comments. Mobile_prune_3207 says, your family should have stood up to her ages ago, and you should be thanking your husband that has the guts to put her in her place. Housing Spirited says, I get family drama is uncomfortable, but your aunt has disrespected your entire family your whole life. Finally, someone has the balls to stand up to her. Your husband did nothing wrong. He did exactly the right thing. Very, very soft YTA. All of your extended family are indeed assholes. Nitopian says, sounds like you got yourself a good husband. He did the right thing defending you. Don't think otherwise. You say what now says, yes, YTA. The fact that no one stopped or even challenged her for so many years, allowing such disgusting nastiness to hurt and create long-term mental damage to others is pretty fucking crappy. That your husband chose to finally stand up to it and protect his family, which now includes you, is brilliant. And yet you are upset at him for this. I'm not sure you deserve him in the first place if you can't appreciate what he did for you and your mother here. I am going to turn this to you, Guy. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. The more people we can reach with these captivating tales, the better. I can't wait to see you all in the next episode, where we'll dive into another mind-bending, thought-provoking story from the depths of Reddit. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep spreading the love for these incredible narratives. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart. You all are the real heroes of this journey. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!